We have some amazing news as Juraj Slafkovsky has been moved up in the lineup with a Brendan Gallagher injury, and he's now playing with our dream line mates. We'll be getting into that, plus how Montreal's power play has been the second worst in the NHL since coach Alex Burrows took it over. Finally, we have some interesting stats that show that Sam Montembeault might be a top 10 goalie in the NHL over the last month, so you don't want to miss anything we have to say on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And quick reminder, about 70% of you who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Hit that button. We have daily Habs content. I know you guys love to hear what myself and Jesse have to say about the Habs, so if you haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel, do it now. It helps us out a lot. Jesse, the first topic today. Juraj Slafkovsky is playing with Monahan and Anderson. I could not be more excited. Of course, with the news that Brendan Gallagher might miss a little bit of time with a lower body injury, it means that these spots up higher in the lineup are primed for the taking. And check this out. Arber tweeted today the Canadiens forward lines this morning at practice. Caufield, Suzuki, Dach, no surprise. Dadonov, Dvorak, Armia. A little surprising, but I mean, whatever. That's an interesting line. But Slafkovsky with Monahan and Anderson. And it says Chris Wideman's playing the right wing on the fourth line. It says for now. The reason it says for now is because the Habs recalled Rem Pitlick, and if he can make it to Calgary in time for tonight's game, he will play. If not, they'll dress 7 defensemen with Wideman being the 7th. But Jesse, I'm going to play the Slavzilla animation. I could not be more excited. This promotion to play with Monahan is something that we've been wanting all season long, and really, if you look at that line, that feels like the second line. Dadonov, Dvorak, and Armia doesn't feel like the second line. It feels like Slafkovsky is just poised to have one of his best games of the season tonight.
Absolutely. I cannot wait because our key ingredient that we're really needing to take our season to the next level is our secondary scoring. And I feel a big part of that is because of our line combinations. And I think that Marty St. Louis is a great coach, and he absolutely does have a rationale for shaping the lines as he has done. A lot of time having to do with the style of game that he wants to play. He's a very smart hockey mind. He knows what he's doing, but we've been clamoring for this since the beginning of the season. We know that Monahan is just flat out more suited to play with Slafkovsky in terms of the hockey IQ, the speed, because that's one of the main things about Slafkovsky, right? And we've shown that Monahan, he still has that get up and go. So unfortunately, maybe took a couple losses for us to kind of switch some things up a little bit, but I think that's all part of it. So I am just so excited about this.
Yeah, some losses and an unfortunate injury to Gallagher, who just continues his streak of being unlucky. Really hope he gets healthy soon because I think he has some goals left in him. I think he has some points left in him. He's just not been able to pot him this season, but regardless, Slafkovsky finally moving up this as lines to play with a great playmaker and a great veteran in Sam Montembeault. Plus, that line is huge now. Having Slafkovsky and Anderson on the same line is just one player away from that monster line we were talking about at the start of the season with Dach at center with Slav and Anderson on the wings. But I think this is a perfect fit for him. I hope it's a perfect fit. It seems like a perfect fit in theory, but I guess all we can do is watch tonight's game. And if you're watching this video after the game happens, maybe you know the answer already. But I think this is also not only because of the fit with Monahan and Anderson, because, he brings a hard shot, sort of a sniping ability that the other two maybe don't really have as much, but also, this is a statement game for Sean Monahan. They're playing in Calgary, the team that traded Monahan and a first to Montreal for nothing. Monahan has a point to prove. He's been one of the Habs' best forwards all season, and he gets to go back to his old barn and really rub it in Calgary fans' faces. I don't expect him to get a lot of boos tonight, but what I do hope happens is that Calgary regrets the move of trading him. And Jesse, what do you think that, sort of, I guess a little off topic, we were talking about Slav, but let's talk about this lineup. But what do you think about Monahan's return to Calgary tonight really quick before we get into our next topic?
I'm really excited for it. It must have put a fire underneath them just because he gave a lot of really great years to the Calgary Flames. Played great, riding shotgun with Johnny Gaudreau. That was some great hockey. I've been a big fan of his for years. I think he's going to get a warm reception, though, because I know that the fans know what he's offered, what he's brought to that team for so many years. I'm just happy that we have him now.
Me too. I'm excited to see what happens tonight, and I guess it's a bit of a return for Tyler Toffoli too against his old team. Toffoli's leading the Flames in goals and points, so that'll be a little exciting. So Jesse, what do you got on the docket for topic 2 today?
Well, hopefully we get our power play going, but so far we've seen that we've had the second worst power play in the Burrows era. And we do have some information to share. It's written in French. Just l'entraîneur qui s'occupe de l'avantage numérique est Alex Burrows. So the coach that's taking care of the power play for the Montreal Canadiens is Alex Burrows. But if we're looking, si on regardons la fiche du tricolore au niveau de l'avantage numérique depuis son embauche, so looking at his record though, since he's been hired, it hasn't necessarily been a glowing review. So they actually go on to say les Canadiens ont toujours le deuxième pire avantage numérique. So the second worst power play in the league with a rate of 15.3. Derrière les Flyers qui ont une efficacité de 14.5%. So only behind the Flyers that have a record success rate of 14.5. So we definitely see that it's not a glowing report. And we're a fan of Alex Burrows. I know that I was, a fan of him playing those years with the Sedin brothers. But as a coach with us, I definitely want to see him succeed. But we've been just waiting for the power play to kind of get there ever since last year. And I know we didn't have the best year last year and everything, but it just hasn't really gotten there so far yet. So I'm wondering with Slafkovsky, getting moved up the line, would he maybe be a good option just to kind of mix things up, getting him on that first power play? Maybe he doesn't play on the first line with Suzuki and Caufield right away, but that doesn't mean that he can't play on that first power play unit with Caufield and Suzuki.
That's true. I mean, we have a lot yet to be seen with Slafkovsky. He's hardly had any games where he's played over. Does he even have a game where he's played over 15 minutes yet? I mean, that's a lot of minutes for a forward, I understand, but the opportunities are there now. So if he shows a bit more offensive prowess, maybe he'll finally get onto that first power play. And boy, does that first power play need help. I mean, the second power play especially, but the first power play, watching the games, I mean, Jesse, I know you watched the game. Unfortunately, you couldn't be there for the game recap against the Sharks, but the power play just looked stagnant. It looks like teams are starting to figure out that they can just kind of double coverage Suzuki and Caufield and kind of let the other guys do what they want. Monahan is doing an all right job of moving the puck around, but when I watch a power play, it really seems like it's just Suzuki to Caufield, to Suzuki, to Dach, to Suzuki, just passing. And a lot of power plays, I'd argue to say even most power plays, we get either 0 or maybe 1 shot. And it feels like we're just not putting the puck on net enough. We're not really screening the goalie enough in the power play. And I do wonder, Jesse, I want to know your thoughts on this too. How much of this do you think comes from Alex Burrows coaching? Because in that article you read, I took a look through as well, and they compared him to Kirk Muller when he was running the power play. And over Kirk Muller's tenure, our power play was only 17.5% over the same amount of games, I believe, or maybe more games. So it's not that much better, but it's definitely lower with Burrows. But do you really think it's all Burrows, or how much of it do you think is it the Habs just not really having a great power play quarterback? Suzuki's good, and he's been showing some real passing and shooting prowess on the power play, but the experience still isn't there. And I mean, no matter what, he's young. So what are your thoughts on that? How do those two things compare?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two things. To be honest, I would put most of the blame on Alex Burrows, though, just because I believe that we do have those skilled players now where we should be scoring. We should be capable. We have 2 players in the top 10s in points, in goals scored in the league. So there's no reason that we can't be converting on the power play. I think it comes down to schemes at this point in time and just some personnel decisions for the cast around them. I think early on the season that, it was an ill-advised choice often to have Wideman. I know we've had him there in the past, but we're a new team now. We got to be putting somebody like Cayden, Guhle if we're going to be having somebody. Even somebody like Xhekaj is much better, but I'd really like to see Guhle out on the power play, and I'd like to see Slafkovsky out there, whether Monahan or Kirby to complement, Suzuki and Caufield, because they're both great passers. Either one of those options I'm okay with. But I'd really like to see a lineup like this because Slafkovsky can shoot, and we need another option on this other than just Caufield or Suzuki. For me, it's like you can't start double teaming 3 players now. Now there's just going to be way too many openings for other players on the ice, right? So I think that it's up for Burrows to switch things up a little bit in terms of the personnel that he's using, much like our lines. But we see that's coming around, even with Marty St. Louis changing around the lines. I think that's a really positive step in the right direction. Now I think we just need to do the same thing with the power play.
Yeah, I think so too. I think having a left-hand shot on that first power play, that's a real one-time threat, because Monahan's a left-hand shot, but he's not like a super huge one-time threat from the opposite hash marks of Caufield. And we've seen Matheson on the first power play now in the last few games, and he's looked all right. I mean, again, just keep shaking things up. Find something that clicks. It worked a little bit earlier in the season for a couple games. Maybe it'll work again. Final topic today. Quick one at the end. We have some stats that show that Sam Montembeault was a top 10 goalie in all of the NHL for the month of November. And I'm going to show them to you right now because honestly, it's a little surprising. Let's take a look at this. So this is the top 10 save percentage goalies for the month of November with a minimum of 6 games played. And you see Montembeault there at 7th with a .924 save percentage in the month of November. Yes, it's a smaller sample size than most of these other goalies, but I think it's still a very, very impressive statistic. He's up there with the likes of Connor Hellebuyck, Ilya Sorokin, and Ullmark, who, if you ask me, are top 3 in Vezina voting right now, and Monty's just a little bit behind him. But there's another stat that I'm going to show you in this extremely blurry image, and I'm sorry it's not higher quality. I don't know what happened to it, but we're rolling with it, right? This is the percentages of their starts that resulted in them having a higher save percentage than the opposing goalie. So how many times did they outplay the other goalie? And in 75% of Monty's starts in November, 6 out of his 8 starts, he had a higher save percentage than the opposing goalie. And only Vitek Vanacek, Brian Elliott, and Linus Ullmark were higher than him, with Filip Gustafsson of Minnesota tying him. Jesse, I thought this was crazy because we've seen Montembeault perform very well this month, and if you actually look at those stats for Jake Allen, he's near the bottom in all of those, which is kind of funny, but Monty is the one I want to focus on today. He has been such a stellar backup for Montreal. He's kept us in so many games. We knew he's been playing well, but what does it mean to you to see these stats that he has been performing with some of the best goalies in the NHL over the past month?
To see him outperforming so many other quality goalies in the NHL is just absolutely phenomenal. I am just so happy for him. I think that he's continuing to get better and better every single game. So, I mean, I think we have to start rolling with him at a certain point. I think that he's shown that he deserves it. So I think slowly we're seeing getting him more faith. So he's starting to get more back-to-backs, So I think we're going to need to get used to seeing him more in the Montreal Canadiens crease.
Yeah, I think so, especially with Jake Allen's struggles. Monty has really shown he's been way more impressive than anyone could have imagined. Maybe we starting him a little more. I believe, I'm not sure if he's starting tonight or Jake Allen is. I didn't check that. I'm not sure if it's released. I think it's Allen because I think they said Montembeault was one of the last off the ice of practice, which actually I don't even know. I don't remember what that means. Either way, we'll see tonight. Whatever, we'll see tonight. I hope it's Monty, maybe it's Allen, who knows. Unfortunately, we won't be doing a game recap tonight. We're going to have a game recap hybrid episode tomorrow with some news as well. So, unfortunately, we can't do it tonight. It's a little late for both of us. Neither of us are even in Eastern time zone or Pacific or anything. We're much further east than that. So, it's a little late for us to do a recap, but we got your back tomorrow. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going for 5,000 subs. You guys have been doing great and supporting us in the last couple videos, and we hope you can continue to do that. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next video.